So the perks. Okay, what would you change about them and why? New perks, open perks, etc. Okay. So this is actually a really cool thing to talk about. Let's go ahead and let's take a second from the tier list and let's talk about perks. I suggested Saride of having 3 or 4 perks with giving double resonance. My suggestion was to have the perks that make you start with 1 to 3 resonance of your own choosing, for example. Okay, so every character would then get like, they would get caloric, bandolier, all that stuff. So here, give me 1 second. We'll move this up here. So when it comes to the perks, there is one problem, right? Sanguine is without a doubt the strongest. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off stream chat here. It is without a doubt the strongest perk. And the reason why is because you can heal. It gives you a resource for no downside. Now, when we compare that to the other perks, if you're taking one of these perks instead of Sanguine, you are actively giving away a resource. That's how you have to imagine it. Because if you take all of these from a neutral state, Sanguine is 100% efficient. It's called hyper efficiency. But when we look at Juggernaut, heavy landing deals 25 damage. Heavy landing? You want to actively stop moving? It doesn't knock them up. It just does 25. I want to be within an inch of them. Like maybe if I'm a shotgun enforcer main who's always sitting up camping on roofs, that this is okay. So it becomes a niche perk, right? So from a neutral state, how often can I use this? 50% of the time I'm in game? 20% of the time I'm in game? It's probably gonna be 5 to 10%. The odds that you're on high ground high enough to get a heavy landing to hit somebody and have it be efficient, or its efficacy is not towards 100%. But when we look at Sanguine, you are always healing. It is 100%. It is 100%. Caloric, start with 2 caloric blood resonances. Now that melee has been nerfed, this is a fantastic starting option because when you're beating down a knocked person, since I can buff it up that 25%, the 25% in damage, let's use the axe as example. 70 health. It went, oh, I gotta pull out a note for you guys. This is gonna, okay, so this is important. So if we had 70 damage, can I zoom in at all? There we go. So I had 70 damage, right? But you only got 50% of that. This was patch 1. And we'll just say patch 1, right? And now it is 70 damage, but you only get 30%, right? And since you only get 30%, we can go ahead and do the math real quick. You healed, Jesus, 35, right? So now you heal, what, 30%? That's 25, 70 divided by, oh God, I'm getting too old. Let's see here. 70 divided by, oh my God, I'm so terrible at this. Times 0.3. So times 0.3. That is 21. So you heal 21, right? So that's the new patch. But if you could go ahead and you can make it even higher, instead, oh God, I was trying to make Microsoft my actual thing. I'm gonna clip all this and show the devs about it. That's totally fine, Arhanka. That's totally fine. So the melancholic, I'm sorry, not the melancholic, the caloric, this skyrockets in potential, right? Because this healing 35 per swing was so efficient. 35 times 3, which it took to kill a knocked opponent, is how much? It's a little over 100, isn't it? That's over half your health. What is 21 times 3? It's 63. So when we add that to the amount of time the bullets that are traveling at you and hitting you per damage of swing, you were able to heal up all of the damage that you were soaking up, whether it was a Tommy gun at a distance, whether it was an assault rifle, and this made it a valuable option to knock and melee somebody. But if you heard someone within a close enough distance, you knew that you wouldn't be able to out heal. Now with this new patch, when you're meleeing somebody that is knocked down on the ground, 21 damage per health, if the bullet is 16 damage, 2 bullets is already defeating that. So getting off 3 melees for 6 bullets and a Tommy gun, an LMG, an assault rifle, it's not worth it. But here, 16 damage is not even the full amount. So this nerf is effectively making sure you can't just melee knocked people for free damage. It was definitely directed at the enforcer. It was definitely directed at the idea that these opportunistic attacks weren't healing you for an insane amount. That's what it was all about, right? You couldn't go marble skin, swap to your knife, and just rush them and hit them once and heal a stupid amount with syringe and this. But it took out a core component of the game of when you're thirsting, do you melee, shoot, or execute? So now it comes down to two options, blood syringe and shoot, or execute them, because meleeing stopped being an option. But if we do caloric, what does it go to? It goes to an extra 25%. So if we pull up the calculator real quick, let's see here, 70 times 0.25 equals plus 70. So 87.5. So now we're looking at 87.5. This means you're healing at 30%. So you heal for how much? Times 0.3 equals 26. So you're healing for 26 a swing, right? This is still a huge nerf to what it was, but you're only one person away from having the option of knockdown thirsting. So if you eat a civilian and you get up to that 100 something, you get back up to 35. The idea at maximum, let's go ahead and just see here. So 70 times that is what, 120? Because it's an exponential jump from 25% to 50 as opposed from 10 to 25. So you get the 120 and then you heal up the 30%, which is 40 HP a second, or 40 HP a swing, which you only get 2 hits of because the knocked person only has 200 health, right? So you're only healing, what's it called? You're only healing, let's see here, go ahead and put the percent. That 30, which is only 4 more. It's insane. It's insane. So when it comes to this, you're only healing a maximum of 60. You're healing a maximum of 60 off of a noun person. But when you have this instead, you're healing a maximum of 78 off the knocked person. So it puts you in the sweet spot. It puts you in the sweet spot. This math right here is so important to understanding the potential that is in these plays, right? Because let's say I knock an enforcer and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I have 100 HP. So let's do a little story problem real quick. We have 100 HP. We have 2, let's say we have 2 caloric, right? So we're sitting at that 30% healed and we're doing 87.5% damage. So we're going to heal 87.5 damage times 0.3, and then you put that in parentheses, and then you put times 2. And so this is the formula that you have to do in your head every time that you go through. It's your damage per weapon, the healing percentage that it is, and then the amount of swings that you can get off, right? This is the insane amount of information that comes through this game. And so the reason we're talking about this is because if you start with caloric, after this new patch, you're gonna heal more off of down players with just 2 as opposed to here. Now you'll heal that 60 faster, but you won't get as much. And that 18 damage is a bullet's worth. So it could be down to the wire. So I would say that caloric in itself adds another wonderful thing, right? So the perks or the resonances that we get from the perks are huge. They're game changing. What does Juggernaut give me? I have to trade off healing, both with caloric and sanguine, to just land on somebody? Bandolier. When have you run out of ammo? Unless it's the ammo bug. I've never run out of ammo in this game. So when it comes to Bandolier, don't ever run it. Athlete Wall climbing becomes faster. If you don't care about your early game, doesn't matter, right? If you don't care about your early game, run athlete, right? Because then you can just eat all the people, you can farm the entities, all that kind of stuff. But if you want early kills and you want early KP and participation, you get caloric and sanguine because they are so efficient right off the bat. Athlete becomes hyper efficient late game because you will already have had all of those thirsts, right? This saves you 6 seconds. It just saves you 6 seconds. So a lot of people start with night because they feel like it's very fast. But if you just know where the loot spawns are when it comes to night, you can actually effectively get rid of this, right? Which you will then also save 5 seconds. So if you think 5 seconds is worth your time to get rid of sanguine, which of course you have to spend anyway eating the people. Frick the buffer of train Wi-Fi. Oh my God. But you have to look at the efficiency to time spent, right? This saves time, is 100% usable. I can put it in every single situation that I play the game. This is all combat related. This is only late game related. This is never efficient. This limits you. You have to be in a negative state for this to start being positive. And physician, feeding grants a blood bag. Why the fuck would I run a blood bag if I could just have healing? Why? And then survivor, regenerate from a down state 20% faster. Why regenerate from a down state 20% faster if I could just have buffs that keep me alive? Right? And then warrior, start with a melee weapon instead of a gun. You're only gonna need to run this if you have caloric, because the melee after a kill early game isn't worth it. You want to be executing. Late game, if you start with warrior and you've already got caloric or it's a well-fed round, maybe you could argue warrior is okay. On the percent, you roll a purple weapon. But you already start with a blue bat, which is 15 damage less than the axe. So the reason we just dove into every single all the efficacy of each and every single one of these perks is in the future perks, we genuinely want to see things that are 100% efficient. Now, what we can look at is Saboteur, because look at Saboteurs. This one fits its passive. Walking speed while crouching is increased. We have Impervious, immunity from the red gas for short duration from entering it, and Veteran, reload 10% faster. These three are efficient at every stage in the game. I would argue Veteran needs to be 15% because it needs to keep up with the amount of time that you're saving with these, right? Don't forget the gas neutralizers. Want to hear your thoughts about late game? That's exactly what I'm bringing up too. Is like Creeper you can use at any point in the game now that Saboteur is not ruined. So this has near 100% efficacy if you're a rat, right? So the perks actually go into a different type of gameplay. So let's talk about Impervious. This skyrockets in value. This has exponential value as the round continues, right? Since you don't have sanguine, you cannot survive the first round without eating sanguine. It happens, Arhanka, don't worry. So, 1 second. So, Impervious is an example of a wonderful perk, right? Just like sanguine. Because sanguine, while staying at 100% efficacy, hey, thank you so much, Ike. Just started playing this game. It's so lit, dude. Blicky, it's dope. It's dope. You're gonna love it. And look at athlete and impervious.
Notice me, senpai. Notice me.
These two things both skyrocket. I'm sorry for the reverse mirror here. You will see it exponentially go up as the game continues. Now, the perks, melancholic and phlegmatic, are really hyper efficient at the beginning, but they go downward because you're more likely to find these perks. Sanguine is a special case. So when it comes to the sanguine perk, I would almost want it entirely removed. I would almost want it entirely removed because it outpaces all the other perks. The only thing that I would say that they could do to keep the sanguine perk in is, of course, give everyone the option, add another row. Just like add another row over here or something that's obviously visually pleasing, where it would be all of the perks. And then you could make it resources, you could call it innate passives, and then you could call it the row of your resonances, right? Obviously, it would be teal, purple, sanguine, and caloric. So the math behind the saboteurs, you could argue all of these. Athlete is very efficient on him. Guys, I got a quest. Let's go. So the athlete perk on Saboteur is very efficient because it allows you to use your invisibility and the time it takes to get up the walls of the average mode, not the average building, the average mode of all the buildings. You can get up the wall invisibly with athlete perk. That is insanely important when it comes to understanding your own playstyle. Now, Impervious, immunity from the red grass for a short duration after entering it. I want exact numbers. I want exact numbers right here. I don't want to see its immunity for a short duration. I don't want to see when crouching is increased. I want to see percentages. Because as intelligent gamers, I understand that this is like, oh, we're keeping it short and sweet. But in League of Legends, one of the most popular video games of all time, one of the reasons it's so popular is because people like me can explain and show you the math behind it. But when I look at Creeper, what am I supposed to show you? There's nothing. There's nothing I can show you. It just says walking speed when crouching is increased. Hey, what up, Becca? How you doing? I'll stretch the leg and drink for you. One thing that would be amazing. One thing that they could add. So I've had a couple of ideas. Now we've talked about what I would change in these, what I would change in a couple of these different things, and a couple of thoughts, right? One thing I really think should be a perk is you should be able to have a perk on every character that is reduce the passives on an enemy. If you are within a certain 10-meter radius, man, my stream crushing you is growing by a second. Let's go, dude. But when it comes to all of the passives of all the characters, there should be someone who reduces your passive when you get near them. Think of it as a debuff. All it would have to be is a timer debuff that goes in 10 meters. Enforcer's passive would no longer be oppressive because you could choose to specifically fight against it, right? I would give my left nut to get rid of Sanguine and have a passive slasher. Like, you could call it cutting glare. You could call it like slicing gaze, some shit like that, right? Where if you lock eyes with someone because you're so close, you could cut it. Because this passive, just slowing them, is insanely efficient at all levels of play, right? Sirens is very good early game. Muse, very good all situations. Prowler, only when it's a 1v1 situation. Saboteur is just now finally getting to use their passive. Vandals is insane. It's S tier. It's the best passive in the game. Moderate damage resistance. Again, I want exact numbers here. And then Brute replenishes up to half their health while not taking damage. Also, hyper efficient. So the best passives in the game are Brute, Vandal, and Enforcer because you can always use them. Did someone face this problem? But, so one of the perks that I'd be looking forward to in the future, oh my god, he starts with 2 Sanguine. He starts with 2 Sanguine? Nobody fucking told me, bro. Nobody told me he also gets the double Sanguine. But when it comes to future perks, you have to think of things that are going to be hyper efficient and add a level of counterplay. Now, what happens if I cut their passive? Well, let's look at all these characters. Brute, all you'd have to hear is the whoa, right? Because it's slowly increasing your health instead of just skyrocketing. Because if you get out of that 10 meters, you're still gonna go up. All the resistance, all this like piercing gaze would have to do is just slow his health regen. Because if you're up close to somebody, let's say I finally close the gap and you're rapidly healing health. When those rapid healings are ticking, you're still healing while the bullets are hitting you. That's just server latency. You're gonna feel that. So instead of having to do 100 damage, you're gonna have to do like 116. Which can be a bullet difference, and it's horrifying because if you have max sanguine and a blood syringe going at the same time, that's 3 different healing sources, all proccing passively as you're fighting in the game, and there's no counterplay to it.
Senpai, notice me.
Yo, is that 20 subs? Bro!
Finish him.
Oh my god. Arhanka just took the fucking death hammer to someone's neck. I don't know why, but that seemed like the right thing to say. Anyway, I appreciate the absolute shit out of you, Arhanka. I love this kind of talk, right? You can tell I never get to talk about this kind of stuff.
I feel like it's not about fake.
V-Ruz, thank you so much. But like, when I tell my wife or when I tell my friends about like, oh, I play games, you know, I do this, I play this character, it's a lot of fun. And that's it, it's surface level. You guys are the ones that get to hear me talk about my absolute passion in percentages, in details, in math, everything. And it's wonderful and I love it so much. And when I find a game that's this good, I feel this amazing playing it. I want it to grow. The only thing we can do as content creators is continue to offer constructive criticism and show where the weak points of the game are. I've heard so many people bitching, bro. It's like, if you don't like the game, just stop. If you want it to grow, you better put your fucking ass into it. And I'm putting my whole Glocktane into this. Patent pending. Thank you, the eras. Till I get you, my buddies aren't into Destiny Crucible as I am, so I ever get a deep dive. Exactly, Ike, exactly. But like I say, I want to just get a couple of more examples of the perks out of the way, and then we'll do the tier list of the abilities and we'll continue in. So if you rock this perk called Piercing Gaze, right? Look at Enforcer. You no longer get slowed that huge amount, meaning your movement feels better. With Vandal, when you're up close, you're no longer hitting for less damage and going, what? Why the didn't my shotgun kill? I hate this. You know, you're not dealing with that anymore because I've done that to people and I go to their streams and I'm like, ooh, okay, Vandal is a little oppressive sometimes. You did not say Glocktane. Well, yes, I did. But, you didn't get a sub? Sag, bro. So, that's one wonderful perk that you could add. Another one, increase the scan timer. Every time you scan, it's only 5 seconds, right? This increases the clarity of the game. For somebody who wants the ability to see a little bit easier in team fights, in team fights, in brushes, in hard to reach areas, in the burning churches, in the bushes, around all the entities. If you add a perk that either increases the timer into your shooting or just increases the base timer from 5 seconds to 10, brought it up too, exactly, Arhanka. Think that perk would actually destroy though? Imagine being a little sab and suddenly a little fart gas comes out and you're fully visible. That's, ooh, that would be important though. But right now, late game, imagine 3 saboteurs who are just sitting there crouched in rank. No kills, just been sitting there in the rank, invisible. This makes it so you have to think about where you position a saboteur. That's why that perk would be so good. So think about 3 saboteurs and an enforcer. Let's just use something I don't even like, right? But if the enforcer is rocking that perk, as he's running around exposing himself, actually trying to play the game, actively progressing the game from like top 5 down to top 3 to win, he's being rewarded for the amount of risk he's putting out. But Saboteur isn't risking anything, is hiding, and is just setting up gas traps constantly, right? They're not risking anything, but in a ranked setting, you could see why that would be really bad. Because if this character exclusively, if this character works as well as it's supposed to, we're gonna see a shit ton of this character in ranked. But with that perk, then somebody's gonna be like, oh, I'd rather rock Prowler. So that way I have the invisibility of the Vanish, all this, but I can use my passive to find them, right? It creates, you wanna have perks and you wanna have these things that create open channels. You wanna open options. It should be a flow chart of who beats who. Right now it's rock, paper, scissors. Are you rock, enforcer? Are you paper? Are you muse? Or are you scissor, saboteur? Because right now, Muse, when she gets knocked, teleports away. And if you can chase her, awesome. But, you know, if Saboteur gets knocked, it's over. If Enforcer runs in, he just goes Stone Marble and waits. They all have their way of delaying the fight, right? Be Vandal? Exactly, King. It's a clan actually that I hope in the original lore they will bring in that has the ability to make their eyes glow and see and hear better, so one like a predator ability. Dude, I need you, if you can find a place where I can read all the lore, to just post it in the chat at some point. I want to see that so bad. Because if I have the ability to say like, hey, let's talk about these future perks I've had an idea for. Here's the math behind it. Here's the opportunity, and it fits lore, and we could put it in future updates. Here's how it would fit on each character. This is like, I feel like that would be a wonderful way to bring that stuff up to the devs. So I think that that would be a very, very good perk. And so you have to think, how are we going to even remotely bring up all these other characters' perks as well? Well, they're all going to have that. I want veteran at 15%. Nobility right now, this is pretty trash. Can we agree this is pretty trash right now? But reduces Bloodhunt durations by 50%. Like, that's okay. But very rarely am I ever going to run this. Juggernaut, again, Siren doesn't want to do that. Melancholic, Martial. Gain double blood resonances, but blood hunts last twice as long. This exceeded in importance now, and I might actually play some, do the explanation in the voice. Oh, dude, there's no way. There's no way I could do that. But I appreciate you. Thank you, King Callow. And so, actually, I guess I could turn up my mic volume a little bit here, since, you know, I'm just talking right now. But I could go into more and more of the perks in detail. I literally use nobility for survive blood hunt. You use it for the dailies. That's fucking big brain, dude. There's 3 more unused clans in the lore. Dude, that's exciting. That's really exciting. So those are a couple of the perks that I would really like to see in the future. I think one really good one would be... It's hard to put that one into words. I'll table that one. But right now, the things that are strong are too strong. And of course, I would need to talk to somebody who understands the game as deep as I do. So that way, when I bring up these things, you know, they're like, no, Glocktane, we're not going to do that because yada, yada, yada. And I say, okay, well, what about in this situation? And if we go back and forth in these hypotheticals, then we can kind of work it out together. Have a wonderful time zone, everyone. Well, thank you so much, Becca. You have a good night. Hopefully we can be the ASMR you need to fall asleep to. So, the lore has 13 clans. They only have used 4. See, that's what I thought. I thought there was way more, bro. The Predator ability would be great. But what if the Knight, instead of giving you 50 armor and a spare, it made your armor 75? It made your armor 75. Think about that. Think about having a red armor that is 75 instead of 250. That doesn't sound like a lot, but that adds 2 or 3 bullets. That adds 2 or 3 bullets of life to you. And you're giving up the Sanguine perk, the passive slash, athlete, any of the perks you want to run. You are adding so much time to add your end game TTK. So it once again skyrockets at the end. But if you know where to start in the map, you could run Knight, and then you could run the armor locations on the map, and you could make that really efficient. But if you get hit by a sniper, you're still down underneath 200. You want to remove archetypes and have you choose yourself. So Bruja is Bruja, and then you choose your passive and your ability. That would be a lot of fun. That would be an insane amount of fun. They would have to keep the way they walk different, though. Instead of dividing all the clans into 2, oh, that'd be so fun. Oh, that'd be so good. This is why we need a like public beta test realm or a public beta environment, or like somewhere I can sign a DNR and go in and play. Because the things that immediately come to mind is like, how do you tell what characters have what? That's an important part. That is a very important part. Play close, Synix, the Eros, and Thugsy. Thank you guys so much for the follows. Imagine Vandal with healing, but that's the problem. Imagine you're fighting a Vandal and you don't know that they have that. How do you counterplay that? It would become a standstill. Everybody would be so scared to engage because what if they have Marble Skin? What if they have the Force Push? What if they have this? What if they have that? Right now, the only reason you can understand and engage in certain situations is how they jump, how they move, how they run, how the character slides, for God's sakes. What the character looks like. I only know they're going to go invisible because they're a Nosferatu clan. So if you add too much customization, imagine playing Overwatch where Soldier 76, instead of his gun shooting automatic, he shoots semi-automatic like McCree. That'd be really scary, right? You wouldn't know what to expect. I don't need one, still a big fan. I was just a little disappointed. What happened? I get that. It's okay, bro. It's okay. Both you just chill out here. Let's see. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to finish up getting the tier list going here. Let's see what the last one. Soaring Leap. So we got to do the Brute here real quick, because this is going to be a lot of talking, and I want to make sure that I'm not destroying my voice. I'm just helping here. Save a copy. This is called Shockwave Punch. I still love that, bro. One thing that I really want to see is I want to see CC break Marble Flesh. They could keep Marble Flesh the exact way it is right now, and all they would have to do is just make it so CC breaks the marble skin. Let's see here. So, because think about it. Imagine you are a Brujah character. You can break the ground with your fist. You can punch the air so hard it creates a shockwave blocking bullets. So, we are going to start with the clan abilities of all the characters. We're going to talk about Flesh or Marble Skin. That is obviously an S tier. Flesh of Marble or Marble Flesh, whatever you want to call it. This is a insane ability that allows you to take essentially any of the negatives that come with immediately being in a disadvantaged state and change that. It has like a 0.3 second casting time, and it can actually get you out of more situations than any of the abilities combined. It can now, even after the update or the patch, 4 seconds of invincibility going down to 4.3, and then it now is 3 seconds. Sure, 3 seconds doesn't seem like a very hard thing to time, but when it comes down to a game of, if I don't hit this melee with this certain amount of bullets hitting me, I'm not going to heal enough and I won't survive, or as soon as I res, I have 0.25 seconds to input the dash. This is an insane ability still. This is still insane. Oh, we should just pause that. So then we move on to the next strongest, in my opinion, the teleport. I'm going to go ahead and keep this at A, because if I'm chasing somebody, all they have to do is look at the teleport and it's an immediate free beam. It can re-enter them into the entire fight. It's not S tier because of that. This ability as a movement ability is very predictable, but if you are warmed up and ready to go, you are destroying the opponents. You throw out a teleport and you're hitting them with a shotgun, they have to respect the teleport. If you hit teleport at the right time, you are invincible from damage. If you throw it on yourself, hit shotgun shot as you're recocking the shot and you use your teleport, you essentially do the same thing that Marble Skin does, but it's insanely predictable. So it is an A tier ability because you have to be an S tier player to get the maximum efficiency out of it. So A tier. You can also use it as a bait, make them think you use it. Exactly, you throw it out and this is a little mind game, right? But if you do it in a dumb way, it once again, it relies on the opponent. It's kind of like Mirage in Apex Legends, right? Why use an ability that could depend on the enemy being smart when I could just use Marble Skin, which doesn't matter if they're smart. It's oppressive. So then I want to talk about the next ability that I think is also A tier, the Vanish. The Vanish is insanely strong because you can reposition, obviously, while reloading, swapping weapons, changing up how you want to do the fight. You can break line of sight. It increases your speed even mid-air, which changing the physics of your falling can actually completely destroy an opponent, right? If I'm falling, but I activate the invisibility and run to the left, thank you, nap time. If you fall to the left and you activate the invisibility and start holding right, your character's physical presence is going to be completely different than what they predict, right? I appreciate you, nap time. But it's one of those things. What is the reason it's A tier? Well, there's a couple of things. If you're up against a smart opponent, all they have to do is listen. And what does the smart opponent know if you go invisible? They know they can reload their weapon. Because you cannot shoot, you cannot attack, you cannot end it early. Like Marble Skin or Flesh of Marble. Fuck, what is it called, bro? I gotta know. Flesh of Marble, Jesus Christ. So Flesh of Marble, has all of these benefits while also being able to end as soon as it happens. There is an immediate cancel option. Look at its video. Look at this video. He kills one person, activates it, reloads. He even has time to put on a syringe, sits there for a second, and then just guns the kid down. Not even moving. There's a reason it's S tier, guys. It changes the game so abhorrently. It's so strong. You genuinely have to play around. Is this person an enforcer? You are playing the game. Am I fighting an enforcer? Once you figure out that you're not, whether it's the way they walk, whether it looks like a Nosferatu, or they use one of their other abilities, you are playing the game around this ability right now. That is how Bloodhunt is being played. So that's why it's S tier. Vanish, I can punish, right? If Quest goes invisible, if I've done 170 of his 200 health and he goes invisible, all I'm doing right now is I am thinking to myself, how am I going to chase this guy? So I hear the whoa. And you can hear that little resin of their character. They go invisible, not completely silent. So it's very easy to track them. Most of the time, we easily can track it. It's just very hard, like in the middle of a fight. So that's why it's A tier, is because you can get out of situations, you can get into situations, you can fall on someone invisibly without audio, all this kind of stuff, right? It's fantastic ability. You even see me use it multiple times, so that way I can swap to a katana, get behind them, and slash them down for the final kill. If I get the full health off of the katana slashes and use the reflect, I can see where they are, and then I can reposition, right? Marble skin, it's just like, oh, there's a third party. Flunk. So the next one is Soaring Leap, and we're going to put that at B tier. Now, it is instantaneous. It can get you height, but what is the one thing that all of these classes can do that this ability can't? I'll give you guys a second to think about it. I'll give you guys a second to think. You get away. Okay. Okay. We're in the right area. Not get shot. Reload. Okay. Okay. I'll wait for one more answer here and then we'll go through. B? Control easily. There we go. There's the combination. So if I'm reloading and I go invisible, it continues. If I'm reloading and I throw out my teleport, it continues. If I'm reloading and I use my Flesh of Marble, it continues. What happens if I jump while I'm reloading? It cancels it. And then you also, you can put it in. Oh, there it is. Out of sight. Exactly. Boom. Where's my little mouse? It's all the way up there. That's the other one. This mouse. Yeah, right there. Oh, yeah. All of these characters break line of sight or go invincible. Invincible breaks line of sight. Breaks line of sight, invincible. This is a fucking jump. This is a jump. That's all it is. On a 10-second CD, on a 10-second CD, on a 11. They're all 11. But the fact that I have to literally fight against somebody who is a stone statue god with my trampoline ability, it's like the Apex Legends power creep all over again. We put it at B because it's a fucking amazing chase tool. You are an amazing chaser, and it can get rid of a lot of options that they have if they're hiding on a car. If they're hiding like and you're both on the ground and the person tries to go invisible and you think that they're running away, jump after them. If you think they're jumping onto you, use it to get out of the way, up into the trees, that kind of shit, right? If they teleport, you can literally start shooting and going towards the teleport and you can jump. So there's a lot of outplay potential, but it takes an insane player to make it the best. If for some reason they decided to buff it, all they would have to do is you take reduced damage. Like we'd call it like flexed muscle. We could call it flexed muscle on the Soaring Leap. When you use all of your strength and you launch into the sky like Superman, your muscles are flexed so hard it blocks a little bit of the bullet damage, you know? Like super strength kind of shit. That would be cool. Who do you main? I haven't watched you a lot. You were in my game last night. I am a Vandal main. So if you need that for like reference for all of this, totally fine. I main Vandal, Saboteur, and then Siren. AKA you. Oh my god, Sav. So that is all of the clan abilities. Let's go ahead and let's talk about all the passives. The only S tier passive is Vandals. Vandal's passive is S tier. And the reason that is because you can extend your time to kill so heavily with this. And if you have a blood syringe going and full sanguine, you can tank 235 damage without armor. You can take so much more damage because by the time they do that damage to you, you have healed the 2 seconds of the sanguine, the blood syringe, and a melee. You could probably go even higher if you're meleeing on somebody, but you'll see later why melee isn't super good on Vandal. So if you knock somebody and you think somebody's third partying you, all you have to do is take a blood syringe and sit on that knocked body, because the knocked people also proc your passive resistance. The resistance is not against one person. It is just ever. It's the ring. It is people sniping at you. It is people right up on you. It is the DOT of the Saboteur gas. Like everything, guys. It's fantastic. It's amazing. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to go on to the next best passive, in my opinion. The slow, the what's it called? The relentless, yada, 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 yada. What's it called? Subjugating Presence is what it's called. So Subjugating Presence is the Enforcer's passive. I would put this in S tier, but against a good opponent, you cannot proc this. Against someone who knows your Enforcer. Hey, what up, King? Sorry you're late. It's totally fine, bro. If you're going up against a good player, this puts out no challenge. Now, of course, good players will, of course, die to this because they get a dead slide or they didn't think about it, that kind of thing. They make a snap decision against a melee enforcer and they're thinking to themselves like, okay, all this kind of stuff, right? The reason it's not S tier is because of the distance, right? Vandal's passive procs no matter what against any of the damage. If I'm next to an enemy, it's not like that passive extends, right? It's not like everyone's suffering it. S tier, I am keeping exclusive to game changing, okay? A tier is still really good. So we're gonna have more A tier than B, C, or S. These are wonderful abilities that I think we should replicate more of. B, I think, might need a little bit of a buff. C is like, why the fuck is this in the game? And then D is like, honestly, I might just get rid of D, honestly. But we'll see. So, how do you get the drop? Only by watching? That's right. You just make sure to link your Shark Mob account and everything else. Go ahead and type !drops to get the little instructional manual, how to do it. So, Subjugating Presence, if it extended the range when it hits somebody, I would say yes. But since it's a 1v1 ability that you have to understand to proc, and you have to make sure your opponent isn't very smart to get to, most people don't fucking know what Vandal does, okay? Most people don't know that that's the passive. They don't even think about it. That's part of why it's S tier, but it's not truly, right? So, let's talk about the next passive. Muse's ability. Oof. Final act. Shit. That's S tier. That is S tier. That's insane. Once again, game-changing passive. This passive in solos mode cuts your respawn timer down to like 11 seconds. If you get third-partied, if somebody's trying to stop the person that killed you, you are more likely to get out of that situation than literally anybody else in the game. Literally anybody else. If it's a windy game mode and you don't pick Muse, you're throwing. Muse is the only character that once you are in the circle, if that circle continues to move, you can live. If the circle doesn't continue to move and it's like maybe 5 feet away, cool, maybe. But 90% of the time, you're dead in the water if you're not Muse. Then in duos and trios, if you go down, you can still provide efficiency. You can still provide resources, literal healing, positioning, and you can also make sure that you get out of dodge, which the percent reduction takes it from 35 seconds down to 26, 25, something like that. If you have two goated players and one of them is a Muse, even if you knock the Muse, you're not done because you have to put your position on that knocked Muse. And if you do that, the other good player is going to be easily able to take that out. If you're all bad players, and you don't remember where this person went, If they teleport up, they're gone. If they teleport away, they're gone. If they teleport from a bush somewhere else into a little crack, up onto the ledge, halfway up on the buildings, it's insane. All of it is insane. Sorry. Got a little carried away there. Muse is just really, really frustrating in solos. Then let's go to the next passive. Let's go with Siren. Siren's is very okay. Siren's I'm gonna put it at B tier, honestly. It's one of those things. All it does is save you time. Muse is high key annoying. Exactly. The only thing that Siren does with the passive, it's pretty good in duos and trios, but in solos, unless you pair it with Marshall, it's not very insane. It might save you like 6 seconds, but 6 seconds in a game that lasts like 10, 15 minutes is arguable. Very niche situations is that you could, if I donate 1K bits next week, will you be Vandal? What does that even mean? Explain what you mean, King Kello. But with this passive ability, you have to combine it with other things to make it an A tier ability. If we wanted to see this, I think the way that they could make this passive better is get rid of the speed entirely. Make it all one speed. All the characters eat at one speed. And Siren is so seductive. Make the passive that if the vampires, or if the characters, what do we call them? The civilians, there we go. If the civilians are within 5 meters of each other, you can eat both of them at normal speed. That would be amazing because you're goading them into each other. You would actively have to make sure you're aiming at them to make sure one of them runs into the other and then eat them at the right time. You would save more time than you spend. And when it comes to early game, if you paired it with Marshall, you could max out your resonances so fast. You could save, instead of just 2, you could get 4 for 1 feast. That would be very strong. That would be very strong. But when you make civilians move, they do that pulse on the map, right? So it would be a negative. People know where you are. And if you're doing it early game, you can only eat 3. So you couldn't get the maximum of 4. You only would unlock this if you were a good player who's executed 4 fucking people. So if you kill someone and execute them, then you could max it out, right? That would be wonderful. That would be an insane example of game dynamics. It would open up the options of Siren. It would open up gameplay. If you see 2 of the perk resonances next to each other, what if there was an extra life sitting next to a Sanguine player? You get the Sanguine and you get the extra life. If you're on the back foot and you just respawn into solos, Siren is becoming better. Siren is just becoming better. I think that is a wonderful way to change Siren to get them back into meta. Not only are you getting back into the fight, you're stronger, but you have bad weapons. So it's kind of how it works out. So I think Siren B needs a buff. Then let's go to the next one. That's going to be Prowler with Sense of the Beast. I'm honestly just looking at the symbols, right? So this one, B tier, I think it just needs to be faster. If I get them under a certain amount of health, I think it needs to proc almost instantly. Because right now, the way it goes is like so rarely is someone under the amount of health and then the stream just ends. I think Prowler is probably one of the characters that needs the most buffs. It's a good idea of a character, but just needs to be a little stronger for it to actually have a place. The only people I see that actually survive as Prowler are the people that have way too good of shots. Like Quest, Viken, Twizzy Tokyo, Pookout. Like these 4 people are the only ones that have killed me while playing Prowler. Pookout hasn't killed me. Okay, so those are the only 3 players that have killed me while playing Prowler. The fact that I can count on my hands how many people have killed me with that character is insane. It's ridiculous. The passive needs a buff. If I'm hunting you, Soaring Leap should not be a better option than the passive, right? Make it so that way if anyone in an area, if someone within 30 meters of you gets underneath 100 HP, you get a passive, right? Make it so you don't have to hurt them. This you could also then keep at a slow rate. And the reason that this would work is because then if you're walking around. Imagine a goblin. Imagine a little vampire, right? You know, you're just sitting there. You're just sitting there one day and all of a sudden just... That's the Prowler. That's what it's supposed to be, bro. You know, you're supposed to be the person that's sniffing out the opportunities. Look at this scary motherfucker, right? Okay, the green jacket doesn't really do it justice, but look at this scary motherfucker, right? You could easily see why that's a thing. And then we go to Saboteur that turns semi-invisible while crouching, but just, you know, just to highlight it, we're gonna keep it at B because it needs a buff. Then the, what's it called? The Unseen Passage. We're gonna put this at A tier right now because it's very good, but at the same time, it keeps you from becoming a better player. Like we talked about with Arhanka, if you're doing it in ranked, you're not getting the KP, you're just getting placement. It's very easy to counter if you're not putting it in the right spots. If you're not using it in the right spots, it makes you even more visible, that kind of thing, like up against the ring, not in good spots, around your own bombs, yada, yada, yada. Now that if we made this tier list before the patch, it'd be D tier because it was broken, right? But it's A tier. I personally don't think it's meant for newer players. It's meant for players that are scared to actually learn movement, all that kind of stuff. Let's go to the next passive, which is, let's see if I can do this right. Unseen Passage should be Vandal's passive. We already did Vandal's passive. Brute's passive is A tier because it still requires the person to not know that that's your passive. If they're not thinking about the Brute passive, they're not actively thinking about how much damage is going in or out. It's one of those things. Brute passive is really good for beginners, but when it comes to, I would say advanced, you use it with a blood syringe, you could get back into the fight, but at the same time, you know, it only adds like a little bit of advantage. It very niche, keeps you in the game, and you can't even use it outside the ring. So if you had an immunity perk on the Brute, you know, that would be really cool. But, oh, it is with that. Oh my God. That still requires you to activate or use 2 perks, just like with the Siren, right? It requires you to use a perk for it to go really well. So then we're going to go ahead and we're just going to keep that at A tier. I think it's good. I don't think it needs to be changed at all. I think it's pretty solid. But in combination with things, it could be really good, but it's not there yet. What the heck is that plus? Ah, it's the Muse ability. That's right. So if we look at the abilities now, the best things, they come in spurts, right? These are all the archetype abilities now. And so we're going to go from left to right. We're going to go from Brute, Bruja, and all them down to Enforcer. Brutes is really good, but if they wanted it to be S tier, it would have to just go through walls no matter what. Right now it's a skill shot, but if you fuck it up, you basically kill yourself because all you have is a jump, which is a B tier movement ability, and you can get shot out of the sky. Because he sways back and forth. He's been Prowler, so you're saying the entire stream he'll only play Vandal. Oh, for 1,000 biddies, only play Vandal? Yeah, I'd do that. I'd do that today. And then, let's see here. So with the Shockwave, you pop them up. You have a great advantage. You have them CC'd. They can't use abilities while that happens. You're shooting them while they can't shoot you, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, but on Monday, sure, I'm down. Go ahead. Then, when it comes to the Vandal's ability, we're going to put it at B tier. Notice how these are both skill shots that kind of fuck you over if you miss them. Oh, you want to do the payment on Monday while also having it all be on Monday. Yeah, you have to do it on Monday. It has to be the day of. So, with Vandal, when I ground slam, the ability itself, we can aim a little bit better now, but if it hits a rock, if it hits a stop sign, if it hits a tree branch, if it hits the inside part of a tire, it'll flip. And you just lose the ability. You just lose the, you know, fuck it. I'm actually gonna put that at C tier. Because when it fails, it kills you. It kills you. When the Brute Wall fails, you better get some movement going, right? You better get some movement going because you're not screwed. You haven't given away your own position. You have just missed your skill shot. You're still at a safe distance. You still are able to move immediately. If the ability messes up as Vandal, You have gotten rid of your positioning. You cannot move. You are silenced because you're slamming the ground, and your hitbox is a circle. It's the easiest. I keep wanting to like that ground slam, but like you said, I clip it on the dumbest things. Exactly. Hear me out. The only thing they need to do to make this the S tier ability, notice how I said the S tier ability, is make it so if an object is so many pixels wide, tall, that kind of thing, it cannot physically attach to it. It cannot go upwards or sideways. Make it so we can no longer hit the wall to knock people off, but make it consistent because it's a fucking ground slam. Them wanting it to be useful on sideways walls is killing the character. They're overreaching what their own programming can do. We understand what you want to do, and maybe in the future when it's available, get that going, bring it into a public test realm, that kind of thing. But for right now, just get rid of the fucking sideways, please. Please. And then make it go a little bit under. Because if I let go of the F key, my ability, one frame too late, it will then land on top of the car instead of underneath, and the person just no longer gets hit. So that's why it's C tier. If you fuck up, which is about 50% of the time, the ability kills you. Luckily, you have your S tier passive, but at the end of the day, you shouldn't have to rely on an S tier passive to save you from your own ability just not working. C tier. Then we're gonna go with the Prowler ability, the Sense one. I'm gonna put this at a B. I think it needs a buff. I think it should Bloodhunt you. I think it kills me more than good players. Exactly. I think that this little thing right here, what's it called? What's the Prowler one called? It's Saboteur. What's the Prowler one called here? Scouting Familis. Hey, Bicycle Helmet. Thank you so much for the follow. If you guys want to see the entire tier list and you've joined in late, that is totally fine. We have it as a VOD. I'm going to make it a YouTube video tonight. I want you guys to be able to access all of this kind of intelligent discussion and gameplay anytime you want, okay? So, let's talk about the Scouting Familis. The Scouting Familis is a bat thing that you send out that stays in that dome area. It's about 10-meter radius, that kind of thing. Pretty simple to dodge. And it relies on you having an insane aim. If someone doesn't have insane aim, doesn't really fucking matter. If I use my brute wall and I don't have insane aim, it is a huge skill shot, right? That could just bonk, CC somebody. This ability can heal me and my entire team. This ability silences you if you hit it. If it doesn't, you reposition. If I throw out the Saboteur Bomb and I don't have insane aim, it lands on the ground and becomes a claymore. The Siren Flash, if I don't have insane aim, I just have to be on top of them. This one, unless I'm already in the advantage state, which would be a neutral person, you know, like Quest, me, Viking, having insane aim and tracking, unless you're like us, who are above the rest in this kind of situation, you are not adding anything to yourself. And if you have game sense, this means nothing, again, without aim. It's like, haha, he's behind that wall. Cool. Can you hit him behind the wall? Do you have a gas bomb? Do you have a brute wall? Do you have Vandal attack? Do you have melee enforcer? Like nothing. It adds nothing. But if you add Bloodhunt, then late game or early game, you could have them be found by the entire lobby. You could bring people in. Then with your passive, that again needs a buff. If they start running away because they've been chipped down by multiple people, you're more likely to get this passive proc, which means you can hunt them down while they're in disadvantaged state, making it smart to use Scouting Familis. This is the kind of constructive criticism that this game needs to survive. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about Saboteur Bomb. Saboteur Bomb. I'm going to put it S tier. I'm going to put it S tier, boys. 100%. It's defensive. It's offensive. It is a huge skill shot. If you miss, it lands on the ground. It's like a Zoe bubble in League of Legends, right? It's so game impactful. I love Sabo, but I play them so shamefully ratty. It fits. Okay, so let's go over the reasons why it's S tier. It fits different playstyles. You can plant it. You can stack them. They do damage through objects. I'm sorry, that's 2 more. Does damage through objects. You can then set up a scan play based off of it. You can use it as cover for eating people. You can use it to cut off a choke point. You can down and kill thirsted enemies so much faster, so the Muse passive doesn't even matter. You can then also use it to throw up and shoot it with a shotgun or an SMG and do damage through the wall to finish a kill that you just got. Like, for example, look at this. We're gonna go to my clips real quick, and I'm gonna show you guys just an example of why this is. Let's see here, clips. Poison trap, midair. Full screen. Look at what it can do. So, now if I was Prowler with the insane aim, okay, so we hit 90, and we hit another 90. So we know he only has 20 HP left. Throw up the bomb, boom, insta down. If you were the Prowler, it would not matter. Why? Because knowing where they are doesn't matter in that situation. This is a game-changing ability. Am I playing after this? Oh yeah. We've spent so much time talking, bro. It's ridiculous. But we gotta do it. I promised I would. There we go. It's right here. Okay. But it has so many options. It's so high value. The only downside is it can also kill civilians. With now a Bloodhunt passive being nerfed, doesn't matter. Siren's Blinding Beauty is D tier. It's just dog shit. There's not really any perk other than, you know, it blinds bad players. You can return, but it needs a buff. Like literally, Siren is one of the worst characters because you stop shooting for no gain. It is, wow. Good stuff, wow. I'm proud of you. Then we talk about Muse's ability. Muse, you can heal your entire team. You gain resources for nothing. You heal yourself, making it so you can tank 300 damage in a team fight. It's insane. It can go out. You can use your projection for it. You can use mental gameplay, solo, 1v1 while you're down, survive the ring. It's insanity. Also S tier. And then the unyielding charge, we're going to put at A because it has a high cooldown for so little movement. All these other classes have insane movement, but Enforcer does not because their archetype ability is more about silencing and just being on the person. So this is my in-depth breakdown because it's like you can negate all of these, but very rarely have I seen that be an insane impact, right? In combination with all of his other abilities, broken. Alone, it's whatever. But I'm waiting to get in this game, huh? Oh my gosh. So, for all of you out there that are curious what my tier list of the abilities are and why, this is it right here. I'm going to go ahead and save. Title of tier list, Glock's ability tier list 610. So 6,